What's up, Falcon Nation? Voice of the Friends University Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with the head men's basketball coach at Friends University, Austin McBeth. This is our first one for men's basketball, episode 9 of the Friends University Coaches Show. Not at Chicken Max, but we are here at the Garvey Center, and I tell you, this is wonderful. I just love being in gyms. It's just the way that I've always lived my life. Anytime I get a chance to just go to the gym, just lie down and relax, no one's in it. Like, this is just the coolest thing. So the fact that we're here inside the Garvey Center, awesome stuff. Coming up, Friends University men's basketball, October 31st is when they kick off the season against Barclay College here at the Garvey Center. So that's coming up on Monday. Come on out and support the Falcons. And then the conference opener, not too far after that, November 16th, I believe, is the official date against the Bethel College Threshers. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the season. We'll do all that wonderful stuff here with Coach Austin McBeth, who's in his second season as the head guy in charge of men's basketball. Coach, glad to have you here. How are things going so far?
Things are going pretty well. New year, it's just crazy how from one year to the next the dynamic can be very different, just in a lot of different ways. Got a lot of new faces, a lot of new guys in the rotation. Finally have a little bit of continuity with some of the guys coming back, so it's not brand new to everybody. We've got 2 new faces in the coaching staff as well with my assistant and my grad assistant, so a lot of new. I think it's a really exciting time. I think that we have a chance to be pretty good. We've got a lot of talent and a lot of guys who can really play, which is nice to have some depth because last year we didn't have a bunch of it, but I'm excited about what this season could hold.
Well, let's go into the coaching staff. I want to just open up that opportunity for you to talk about your coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because with it being new, I think a lot of people probably want to know, all right, who are those guys? What are those guys going to do here for Friends men's basketball?
No doubt. So my new assistant coach is Jeray Matthews, originally from West Texas area, and actually played across the street at Newman, and then he was volunteering as an assistant coach there last year. So I talked with R.J. Allen, the head coach over there at Newman, and found out that Jeray was interested. One of the things that he provides that's just really helpful for me is he's been in Wichita for about the last 8 or 9 years, and he was working on the AAU circuit with a lot of these guys. So most of the dudes who are in the 22 and 23 class in high school, he was coaching them when they were like 5th and 6th graders. So he knows everybody. It's actually been really funny when I go to introduce him to people, because I've been here for a year, so I know everybody. I'll go to introduce him to people, and before I can even get his name out of my mouth, they're like, "Jeray, what's up?" And so he knows everybody, which, I mean, as people know, when it comes to recruiting, who you know is really, really important, and he has really good ties here to the community and knows a lot of people, so he's definitely going to benefit us a lot just with his connections around this area, which has been good. Actually knew several of the guys that were on our team when he got here, which, again, just with the chemistry and knowing people. He coached Braxton White, who's on our team as a sophomore right now over at East High School, so it's just nice to have somebody that's a familiar face as we're trying to build chemistry and kind of build the program and move it the direction that we're going. And then my grad assistant, Nick Boone, he's got a really, really cool story. It's very similar to mine. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually went to Iowa State to play football, and then I switched to the basketball team. And so a lot of people will know me as a football player, and they're like, "Why are you coaching basketball?" Nick Boone's situation is very similar. He played basketball in high school, was a really good baseball player, and so he went the baseball route, ended up going out to South Carolina to USC Upstate, played baseball, then decided he really wanted to get into coaching and wanted to coach basketball. So he stopped playing baseball, started coaching in high school basketball, and was a JV coach. And he's from Edwardsville, Illinois, so right outside, or technically O'Fallon, Illinois, right outside of St. Louis. And so he just reached out to me. We got to talking, and he seems very much like me, very analytical, very stats-driven, really hungry to get into college basketball coaching. And so he got out here pretty early in the summer, and he's just been phenomenal. I mean, he really understands the game. The dude hasn't been coaching for longer than about 2 years at the high school level, but he gets it. He's hungry. Our guys really like him, and I'm really excited about our staff. They're very well-rounded, and I think that they have – I mean, I can see the impact, at least for me, just that they have had in helping me do the things that I need to do. So I'm really pleased about our staff.
Year number 2 compared to year number 1, does it feel better? Feel like things are starting to kind of click a little bit more, I guess? Because that's the thing. Year 1, you have so many different things you got to worry about, right? And the thing is, you're worried about the play on the floor, but it's the stuff away from it that you're adjusting to. Now here you are in year number 2, so I imagine things just feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. The stuff off the floor is what nobody can ever prepare you for. I mean, this is my 10th year, I think, in college coaching. So, like, I've been coaching college basketball for a while. I'm not really new to this, but you never prepared for dealing with a brand new team, trying to implement culture, dealing with guys that you didn't recruit, learning what works, what doesn't work, learning a brand new league where you don't know what anybody does and how to win and what it looks like. So last year I tell people Ricky Bobby from the movie Talladega Nights when he gets back onto the track and he's like, what are all these things running around me? Those are the other cars. That's how I felt last year.
You feel like you're going so fast when in all reality you're going 20 miles per hour.
It was just a whirlwind. It was really hard moving to a new city. My wife had our daughter, so I mean it was just new fatherhood, everything. This year just feels completely different. We bring our guys in during the summer, so we have them come in during the month of July and basically do like a mini camp for about 3.5 weeks. It really helps us get our new guys acclimated to the system. It allows us to really do a lot of team bonding and allow guys to get to know each other because chemistry is so important. And it allows us to get to know them. Our freshmen get a chance to take a class and learn what college is like versus high school. And just being here in July, I was like, man, this is so much easier than it was last year. Just having some veteran guys like Trey Reed and Ian Connick and Tim Barberry and Jordan Gary who knew our system, so I wasn't the only person that knew what was going on in the gym. It's just been a lot smoother. We had an opportunity to play Butler Community College and Baker University last weekend, and we played them basically a year ago right now, and it was our first competition against anybody.
Yeah, Ian was saying that. How well you guys did.
Watching those two games last weekend and then going and re-watching our games from last year, we have come a long way. There's a lot of room that we still need to go, but, I mean, it's just night and day from year one to year two, and I'm hoping that it continues to just grow like that.
Well, some highlights in year number one. I know the overall record, no one wants to finish below 500. You finished 11-20 overall, 10-14 in a very tough KCAC, and the reason why I want to just bring up some highlights because I think if you just stop there, and you go, all right, that's it. You just look at the tip of the iceberg. You would go, all right, maybe it wasn't that successful of a season in year number one. The reason why I want to point these out because the conference is as strong as it's ever been. At least for me, I've been a part of this conference since 2016, and it has gotten better every single year. And to just back that up, you had 4 teams in the national tournament last year with Kansas Wesleyan, Oklahoma Wesleyan, 2 teams that squared off at Hartman Arena, which is kind of a bummer. Southwestern to go a long road trek, but competed really well. And then you had Bethel making it to the top 16 once again. They've always seemed to be getting there. Oklahoma Wesleyan got to the Elite 8, and then that was that. But the reason I bring that up because those are 4 tournament teams. Ottawa probably should have been in the tournament. I say probably when in all reality they should have been in the tournament because they were really quality. And that's what I mean because when you look at some of these, and I know you can't just base success off these games alone because you still had some other games that you would win. You need to win and compete, so on and so forth. But 78-72 win over Bethel, which a team that was, I believe, number 12 in the country at the time. So you beat them right here at the Garvey Center. So that was great. You competed with Ottawa, lost to the Braves by 5. You get a 12-point win at Kansas Wesleyan in Salina. You put up 94 points, which, that's incredible in itself. The Oklahoma Wesleyan game, I believe it was here. You guys lost by 11, right? So you guys compete, and you're up. Yeah, exactly, right? And then you had that 72-66 win over Southwestern. So Bethel, Ottawa, Kansas Wesleyan, Oklahoma Wesleyan, Southwestern, all quality teams, all teams that should be in the tournament, 4 of them that were in the tournament. And you competed with every single one of them. So what can you take away, I guess, from that in year number one going into year number 2?
I think it gave our guys hope, but I also think, and this is something that not a lot of people talk about, but I don't pull a lot of punches. I pretty much just keep it how it is, and I tell the truth. But one thing that I don't think coaches talk about a lot is there has to be trust that is built from the players to the coach. Like, nobody knows me from anybody here. I'm not from Wichita. I didn't grow up here. I didn't coach in the KCAC before. I'd never been a head coach. I have some accolades and have been a part of some cool success stories, but like at the end of the day, I have to get our guys to believe in what I think we can do to win. And when we beat Bethel at home, I think there was this understanding that, guys, this stuff works. Like, we can beat teams. This stuff will work. We're good enough. We're talented enough. We can do it if we continue to do the small things. When we went to K-Dub, same thing. dang, this stuff really does work and we can do this. When we lost to Oklahoma Wesleyan here, it was like, fellas, we did everything we needed to do down to the last 9 minutes and we didn't finish the game. And so I think what it does is it builds equity with your guys, and it allows them to realize if we continue to get better at what we're doing, we're good enough to win. And I think when it comes to college basketball, especially in our sport, there's these two worlds of you have to do things the right way and execute, but you also have to be talented enough. There are some teams that you're just not talented enough to beat Oklahoma Wesleyan no matter how well you do things because they're just better than you. Bethel was loaded last year with Jalen Scott and Cliff Bird and Maccabee and all those guys. If we're not talented enough to beat them, it doesn't matter if you do things the right way or not. You're probably not going to win in this unless they play awful. And so I think last year our guys realized we're talented enough to win in this league and give ourselves a chance to play in the national tournament. Now it comes down to we have to do our stuff well enough that we can execute and win games when they're close.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because you bring up those 5 games, when you take a look at the entire season as a whole, there are games there that you wish, like, oh, man, if we would have played better, we would. Because that's the thing. You want to be at the highest level, but you also want to make sure that you're winning the games that you feel like you should be winning.
Correct.
So, that's the thing. Like, those 5 games were terrific, but there's certainly some other stuff you want to do. You want to play on a consistent level. I mean, that's the main thing, right? Consistency. And in year number 1, that's got to be the toughest thing, is just playing at a consistent level when you're dealing with so many moving pieces.
Yeah,
absolutely. Such a tough thing to do.
Absolutely. And the chemistry piece of basketball, in my opinion, is probably harder than it's ever been because people watch the really cool high school stories of, the team that plays their whole life growing up together and then they make it to the state championship and they win it and they're all crying and hugging each other because they went to each other's 6th grade birthday parties. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And it's like at the college level with transfers, with bounce backs, with the portal, with all of these things, our guys don't even know each other and they're trying to play basketball together. And so that chemistry piece is the hardest thing that I didn't really realize when I got here. I got in here and it was like X's and O's, X's and O's. I got to teach you guys how to play the game of basketball. And that's what we did for the 2 weeks that I had them in the spring. And in the summer, it was all like, we got to get better at understanding basketball. But I don't think that it was basketball that was what was hurting us in some of the games that we lost last year. It was we didn't fight for each other. Like we didn't have – when you watched Bethel play, when you watched Oklahoma Wesleyan sub their 5 dudes out and their 5 dudes in, it's like they don't care who does what. Right. They just want to win. And it was this eye-opening experience of we don't have that yet. And so I think that year 2 has built some more of that chemistry. It's allowed relationships to grow. I've grown in my relationships with these guys. They trust me more. I trust them more. We're closer with each other, and that's the thing that I think will start helping us kind of get over the hump of those close games, is just having better chemistry and just the experience of, hey, we've been here before. We've been down. We've been up. We know how to handle these situations. So that, I mean, it's a journey and it's a grind. And I thought that it was like, I can come in, I know the game, and we're going to be good. And it was like, we showed spurts of it, but man, that consistency thing is hard.
Yeah, without question. All right, well, let's talk about some of your players. You have one senior, in Ian Connick,
Yep.
which is just crazy to look back at last season's team and just go, oh, yeah, they only have one senior here for 2022-23. I had a chance to visit with Ian at the Home 2 Suites halftime report at the Friends Ottawa game for football, and it was great because I told him, like, he hopped on in, and I kind of made a joke about, like, hey, where's the headband at? What are you known for? 3-point shooting or headbands? And he goes, neither. I'm known for the tattoos. That's what he's known to.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, fair. But then I talked to him, and like last year he was, so great. Led the team in scoring 15 points per game, 78 threes on 34%. I'm sure he'd rather have that to be 40%, and as an overall shooter, probably 45, 50% as a guard, because I'm sure that's the big thing for him. But I talked to him about, hey, last year you have a new coach that comes in, and in today's day and age, when that happens, everyone wants to know, like, are you leaving or are you staying? Like, what's going on, right? And he brought up, look, when I talked to Coach McBeth, had a chance to kind of see the vision, like, in the team meetings, and I thought, man, I got to stay because I'm going to learn so much from a basketball standpoint. And he said he learned a lot last year. He feels like going into this year, it's going to be even better. I joked with them. I was like, everyone knows your 3-point shooting, but I think that the big thing last year for him was probably trying to figure out, because I know you're about good shots and bad shots. You're always about that, right? Yep. Shot quality, yep. Which it's so big, right? Because Ian can pull up from 35 and hit it, but if you're doing it 1 out of every 5, then that's not exactly the best thing for the team. But Ian said it best. He goes, look, I don't care if I have 2 points, 30 points, it doesn't matter. We just got to get the win. Mm-hmm. That's all that matters. So your thoughts on Ian and some of the progress that he has made in year 1 under your leadership, and then going into year number 2. And I guess leadership-wise, he's got to be a more vocal dude, being the only senior, right? So your thoughts on Ian Connick going into this season?
Yeah, for starters, his leadership has probably grown more than anything basketball-related at all. There's something cool about having seniors, because it's just the human condition to assume that, like, I always have more time, I always have more games, I always have more practices, so you don't take it the same way and you don't treat it with the same sense of urgency. You can tell that Ian views this season differently than everybody else, because he understands he doesn't get to do this again. He understands that, yeah, it's just a jamboree against Butler, but, like, this is the last time that I get to have those first game jitters, and his leadership has really changed. The thing that I love about coaching is that it's messy, and my relationship with Ian Connick has been messy since getting here. He is one of the most naturally gifted, talented kids I've been around. Not necessarily just basketball, everything. Everything that dude touches, he's good at. You go play golf with him and he shoots 7 under. You play ping pong against him, he's going to beat you. We go out and we hit softball, and everything that kid does, he is just very talented. And what most people don't know, he didn't start playing basketball till like 4 years ago. He was a baseball player. And so it's one of those things where he's really gifted and talented, doesn't necessarily have a lot of the foundational things to rely on and to kind of fall back to. And so when people see him shooting the flashy shots and the turnarounds and the sidesteps and what are you doing, he's never been taught anything else. Mm-hmm. And so losing last year, I think for him was probably one of the best things, because he needed to understand that it doesn't matter how many points you score. If we lose, none of it matters. Mm-hmm. 25 on the road doesn't feel as good as 10 at home and we win if you go on the road and you lose when you score 25. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad to hear that that's what his conversation was with you, because he has the ability to make the game so much easier for everybody else. And I hope that, like, this year people will see a different Ian Connick, because I get on Ian probably more than anybody else with his shot selection, because he's been averaging, since he's been at Friends, he shoots about 34% from 3. If people came in and saw him shoot, he shouldn't shoot any less than about 42 to 45. He's got a torch. Like, he has a flamethrower attached to his right shoulder. And so most of the reason he misses shots is because of shot selection. Mm-hmm. And just that messy component of the relationship isn't, I don't want you to be good. It's not that at all. It's, I want you to be better than you've been. And for you to do that, I think there's some things that you need to change, and change is really hard. Right. And so we have a messy relationship, but I love that dude. He has grown so much. He cares about winning. He's a very team-oriented guy. Sometimes you see some of the flash and you think he's all about himself, but I really do see a ton of change in him, and it's been really fun coaching him.
So that's your lone senior. Mm-hmm. So that's your leader there. But you do have some other guys from last season's team that are back. Trey Reed, want to talk about the local product from May South High School. He was number 1 on the team when it comes to assists, had 71 assists last year. You know, it's interesting. You look at Trey Reed, and I think some people, if you just watch him, you're like, okay, I wonder what – you try to guess the numbers of what a player would be like. And then you go and look at his actual numbers. 40% from 3, technically 39, but, you know, round out the 40% from 3. He was over 40% as a shooter in terms of scoring. He was one of the top guys when it comes to scoring points per game last season, and also being number 1 in assists. That's what you love to see out of a point guard, right? So your thoughts on Trey Reed and what you see from him going into year number 2?
Trey is a competitor. Man, I mean, I'm a huge stats guy, as we've talked about, and we chart everything. I mean, we chart practice, we chart inter-squad scrimmage, we put stats on everything. And the reason why is because, number one, I'm a big numbers guy, but I also think that guys need to be told the truth. They need to know I'm not a very good shooter. You might think you're a really good shooter, but if you shoot 22% from three, you're not a good shooter. And I'm really big into like assist to turnover ratios and different things. And so our guys need to know where they're at with that. And Trey, all preseason last year, didn't shoot it well from three, wasn't a reliable shooter. I'm like, man, it's going to be really hard to play him for long minutes because we just got to have dudes who can make shots. And he's not huge. I mean, he can get to the rim and finish, and he's a good free throw shooter. But, like, if you can't shoot, it's hard to play in today's game.
Yeah.
And we're 3 or 4 weeks into the season, and this dude's shooting it from, like, 50% from three. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? He goes, Coach, when it's game time, man, like, I just want to win, and I find a way. And I'm like, you really do. Trey Reed is a competitor. It doesn't matter if he's hurt. It doesn't matter if he's sick. It doesn't matter if he's guarding someone who's better than him. He just finds ways to win and to compete. And there's a chippy edge about him. And it's funny, with him being a Mays South guy, we bring guys in all the time that are local to recruit them.
Sure.
And in our locker room, we used to have a mural of all of the guys on our team, and Trey was like in the center of it. And it is so funny because I have literally never heard somebody from the city of Wichita who has not played with Trey Reed see him on our mural in the locker room and go, I hate playing against that kid. Like, he is that dude where if you're not on his team, you hate him because he's got the Draymond Green effect. Like, you don't like playing against him because he's chippy, he's edgy, he just does that stuff because he cares so much about winning. Now, he's needing to learn how to grow and not have the lows of lows and the highs of highs, and that's kind of the journey that he's on. And one of the things that we're spending a lot of time trying to get him to understand that when you're really good, you can rally the whole team around you. When you're bad, we got to get you off the floor real quick because you don't play well when things aren't going well. But he just competes and he loves winning. And it's like those numbers are funny to me because I'm like, I see him every day and he does not shoot 40% from three, but put him in a game at home against Sterling and he hits 7 threes. It's like, what's going on? He goes, I just want to win. So I love having Trey at the point guard because he's just a winner, and it doesn't matter if he's tired or injured or hurt. He wants to stay on the court and he wants to win.
Another guy to bring up, Drew Patterson last season as a freshman. You just never know where you're going to get from freshmen, right? We talk about the consistency aspect in freshmen. I mean, look no further. It's hard to really see consistency out of freshmen because it's amazing. You go out there, you have a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden teams play you differently, and then now it's all of a sudden, how do I adjust to something like that? Well, Drew last season took a little while to kind of get in rhythm, if you will. I think we always knew the type of a three-point shooter he could be. And then all of a sudden he has that 3 to 4 game stretch where he puts 33 on the board against Bethany. He has, 27 at Kansas Wesleyan. He has 20 against Bethel in North Newton. And you're just seeing the flashes of like, man, just wait till this guy becomes like more of an upperclassman. I saw him earlier, this season and off season, and I looked at his body. I'm like, oh, he looks like he's in good shape. So, that's the other thing, right? When freshmen come in, normally they're like baby deer is what they are. I mean, they don't know their body. They don't know, because that's the thing. You go freshman versus senior. I don't care if that senior is averaging 3 points per game. I'm taking the senior over the freshman 9 times out of 10 because usually that senior is built. He's seen a lot. He's adjusted to a lot of different things. Freshmen just don't have that experience yet. So Drew in year number 2, I know he's trying to be taking that next big step here for 2022-23.
Yeah, the Drew's a hooper. Like, that kid he is a gym rat. I have never in my life, and I don't say this tongue in cheek. Like, I would say this I have never seen somebody work as hard as Drew. I have to tell Drew to leave the gym because it's like, dude, go read a book, go sit down, go do something. You're having foot issues. Like, leave the gym. He'll be in here being told, we need you to stay off your feet for the next 2 or 3 games because of your foot. And he's sitting on a chair right here where we're sitting, shooting free throws. I'm like, bro, go home. He loves the grind of basketball. And there are very few people that love the grind of it. A lot of people love the Instagram posts and the highlight dunks and the game day announcements when they get to come out of the starting 5 and they like hitting the big shot and doing this to the – people love that stuff. Drew loves the grind of this game, and you don't see that very often. And it's inspiring to me because I'm like, man, I thought I worked hard in college, and I did, but like this kid's on a different level. He's a 4.0 student, and he's in the gym all the time. I mean, he works as hard as he can at everything that he does, and it's really cool to see. He's been battling some injuries and stuff, and so we don't know what this year is going to look like for him. We're hopeful that he's going to be able to play and to impact the team. But, I mean, you don't see people who work as hard as him, who care about the game as much as him, who want for other people around him to succeed the way that he does, and he loves winning too. And so I'm hopeful. Forget basketball. I'm hopeful for him that like he'll be able to get healthy and to be able to keep working at the craft that he loves and to be able to help us and be a part of our success and our failures this year. But jury's still out on what's going to happen with that. But man, you don't get too many Drew Pattersons, and so we're really fortunate that we have him.
Going on to the guy who probably has the best hair on the team, Matt Reeves. I figured I'd throw that out there just to get your reaction. It doesn't matter what he's rocking. I figured the hair would kind of limit his ability to jump or something, but
I think it helps him.
I think it helps him.
It's like Samson in the Bible.
That's what it is,
it's strength.
That's what it is. So Matt last year kind of a late addition, right? A late addition to the team,
yeah.
and Matt is one of those guys that has to get adjusted and settled in. But I remember talking to you last year about what Matt can do, and holy smokes, when you see it on the floor and like that guy can fly, that guy has a lot of athleticism, probably wants to get better from a shooting aspect, but that's also a guy who can also come out here and put up points as well. So Matt Reeves, one of those guys that can come off the bench or be a starter. He's a very unique individual.
He's a unicorn. Like Matt Reeves is a unicorn. He is a specialist. Most people, when you recruit, you can kind of go one of two ways, or I guess there's several ways. You can recruit the guy who just hustles and grinds and does things the right way, and he might not be very talented, but like he's just going to work hard. You can recruit the guys who just do everything well, or you can recruit the specialists where it's like he can't do anything else but this thing, but he is really good at that one thing. Matt is one of the best athletes in our conference as far as just the ability to get to the rim, to run in transition. He is a freak athlete, and he can shoot the mess out of the basketball. Like he is the definition of a catch and shoot guy and a high flyer. And the other parts of his game are what we're currently trying to develop. His ability to play in defense, not just on the ball but off the ball, and his ability to put it on the deck a little bit more and make him not so much of a one-dimensional guy. But he's lightning in a bottle, man. I mean, he can come into a game, and the funny thing is, what most people don't know is that he bounced around from different junior colleges for about 2 years and never really got a chance to play. And we got him here at semester, and it was a unique situation because we had several guys who were either dismissed from the team or quit the beginning of the year last year, my first year in the fall. And so we were really thin on numbers. Like we could only play about 6 or 7 guys that could go out and compete. And so we brought Matt in at semester and honestly kind of just threw him to the wolves. Like, hey, we're trying to teach you the offense, but like you kind of just need to go hoop. And his debut game in a Friends Falcons jersey, and it was actually his first college game because he didn't really play anywhere else besides for random spot minutes. We were at Bethel. A bunch of kids were out because of COVID, and I think he had 22. I mean, he just went nuts. I mean, he had a dunk the second or third possession of the game. He hit a couple threes. He got a tough finish over Jalen Scott, and I'm like, dang, this kid's really going to be good if this is what he's doing with no coaching, no understanding of the system, no anything. And he is a spark plug. It doesn't matter if you start him, if you bring him off the bench. He has the ability to impact a game offensively in a moment, and it's really nice to have. We're trying to get him more well-rounded so that he's not a liability defensively. He doesn't cost you on the defensive end. He's not somebody where it's like, if you're not scoring, how are you helping us? So we're trying to get him to be more of a well-rounded basketball player. But, man, he has a huge impact and has the ability to come in right away and do some things to just immediately spark plug your team. And so he's really beneficial to winning. And It's fun. I mean, you can just, he's got this swag to him. He hits threes and kind of does this thing on his way. He doesn't care who you are, what team he's playing. Like, he thinks that he can go for 40 any night, and he has the ability to get hot really quick.
All right, one more face to really talk about that is returning here for this season, and that is Tim Barberry. And this year, I know last season you had a couple of big men that they chose to not come back to the Friends University program. So Tim, I imagine his role is going to expand quite a bit here in 2022-23. But the thing is, when you look at him, looks like he put on some more weight. He's got some more muscle. And that was probably the number one thing that he needed last year, right? Was just to get bigger because, look, the KCAC, you don't have these big 7-footers out there. They're going to pound their way to the rim, but you still got to be strong. And it seems like he has taken that next step from an offseason standpoint of getting bigger. And the big thing is he probably needed to because this is going to be a big year for Tim Barberry.
In my opinion, Tim had the best offseason out of anybody on our team. He stayed here during the summer. He's from Abilene, Kansas, so could have went back up to the Kansas City area and hung out and worked a job. And he said, I want to stay here. I want to lift. I want to work out. And I want to get better. And he did just that. I mean, like you said, people notice it. That's funny. We have film from everything. And so we go back and look at film from last year, and we're like, is that Tim? I mean, he's this big around, and he's so skinny, and he really does. He looks like a specimen.
Well, the length is what throws you off too, right?
No doubt.
It's the wingspan.
Yep.
I know that. Although now I'm ballooning out, but that used to be the thing, right? Because like if you're 6'7", you got those long arms, and people just think that you're not very strong, and then you go on the basketball floor, and it's like, yeah, you're not very strong because you get so much length to you. It's just hard to see it.
Yeah, and he's really. I mean, he had to put on at least 10 pounds, if not 15, just of muscle, and he looks really good. He just understands the system better, and that's the thing about Tim. Tim doesn't care about scoring. He'll score if he has to. He'll score when he has the opportunity to. But I've never heard him complain about, I need the ball. I've never heard him say, Coach, I'm not getting enough shots. I've never heard him say, I'm only averaging film. He does not care about scoring, but he has developed into somebody who can score. And I would not be surprised if he has 3 to 5 games this year where he scores 4 points or less, and if he has 3 to 5 games this year where he scores 20 or more. Like, he's just that guy. The way that we play, the way that our ball screen offense works, some games he's going to get a lot of action, some games he's not going to, some games he'll be really good in transition, some games he won't, but he is so efficient. He's shooting like 70% all preseason, all summer, just from the field in practice and everything. And for those of you that know basketball, like, you don't shoot 70% from the field unless you're DeAndre Jordan. All you do is dunk the basketball.
Right.
And he doesn't miss shots. Like, we make jokes with him, the assistant coaches and I. We'll be like, Tim, are you feeling okay? He's like, what's wrong? He's got a weird sense of humor. He's like, what's wrong? What'd I do? Well, like, you missed 2 shots yesterday. Is everything all right? He's like, dude, chill. He's just so efficient. And he's gotten better. He understands the system better. He went to a junior college his first year out of high school and was there for a year. Then he came here and played for Coach Fabe his first year here as a sophomore. Then last year was his first year under me. And most of the time we're like, Tim, we just need you to play harder, man. Like, you could just do so much more, but you're not playing harder. And he kind of figured that out. And this year you can tell there's just like a security of, I know my role. I know what I'm supposed to do in this system. There's just some understanding of how this game works, the way that we do things, and he's just thriving. Like, when we played, I think it was Butler, the first game that we played, he had 10 points in the first half, and like, he wouldn't have scored 3 points in the whole game last year at this time. So just seeing his development, the way he's become a better rebounder, he's hustled harder, he's willing to talk more because he's a quiet guy. He's kind of one of our silent leaders, but man, you don't have to worry about him. He is low maintenance. He has no drama with him. He just shows up and works hard, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this year because he doesn't ask for any attention. He doesn't want anybody to talk about him, but he's worked so hard that I'm really hoping he'll get to see the fruit of that this year.
Sounds like an Abilene Cowboy. Sounds like an Abilene Kansas kid. I'm not surprised. I remember it was funny. I think when I first saw he was on the roster, I sent a text to the voice of the Cowboys, Trent Sanchez. I'm like, Tim Barberry's playing at Friends University. He's like, you have to let me know how he does. And then at the end of the day, he's like, so how do you do? I was like, well, he's thin. He'll get better as things go along. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does here in 2022-23. Now, in terms of some of these other faces, it's kind of a loaded statement here because I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. I know last year I think Darion Frierson played a little bit, got some spot time here and there. Some of these other faces that aren't JUCO kids, but a couple of freshmen. Christian Williams from Wichita Trinity. I know you're really, really high on him. Keon Hutton from Northwest. They had a really good year last year. Every time I see Keon, I just feel like the sky's the limit for that kid. I think there's a lot of potential there. So in terms of, and then you got Zeke Wilson, who's also a freshman from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you got a lot of new faces, to say the least, and some young talent here that very well can make a difference this season.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really go the junior college route. We'll piece some things together. Obviously, we brought in Markel Hood, who will play this year. Matt Reeves was a transferred semester.
Right.
That was kind of a unique situation. We have Steve Stacco, who's a transfer that came in. But I really like freshmen. I'm a big teacher of the game, and so I like to bring guys in, teach them how to play the game. We play it, and then develop them, and they kind of take off. And I think that it helps with continued success down the road if you can build guys into what you want, so that you don't have we missed on all of our transfers this year. We're not going to be very good. I don't want to get in that situation. And so we do bring in a lot of freshmen. And like you said, starting with Darion, who is now a second-year sophomore.
Right.
He's so talented, and it's scary what he's able to do. We actually moved him to the point guard, so him and Trey Reed and Easton Ruffin are kind of battling for that position in those minutes. Darion is one of the most naturally gifted guys on our team. It's scary how good he is. His motor is the biggest thing. I mean, he's smart. He can make plays that nobody else on our team can make. He is really talented, but it's just like, Darion, I need you to care more. And he's kind of gotten by being lazy his whole life. And everybody's like, dude, if you get it figured out, you're going to be scary. And he's taken huge leaps and bounds, and I'm hoping that this is kind of going to be his breakout year because he's really talented. Christian and Keon, I've kind of said this to other people, like they are the future of Friends men's basketball. They're both kind of off-ball wings. They're both so talented. And the best thing about them that most people don't get to see, so I'm telling people, they work hard. And it's really easy when you're that gifted to kind of just go through the motions and be lazy and think I'm just going to be good because I'm talented. They are grinders. They're in the weight room. They work hard. They get extra shots up. They want to watch film with me. Like, they are workers, and those two are really talented. Christian Williams is already in our starting lineup. Every game that we have played, he's currently our leading scorer, which is crazy when you have Ian Connick coming back. But he is just like that perfect kind of left-hand jab to Ian, because Ian he's a scorer. He can shoot it. He can create separation. He can draw a lot of attention. Christian just gets downhill, man, and it's weird because he's not super shifty, but he's so fast and he's strong and he sees angles that when he wants to get downhill to the rim, he's going to get in that paint, and it doesn't matter who's in his way. He can really score it. He is phenomenal in transition and just being able to throw the ball out to him, and he can really attack the rim and score it. And he's going to have a really good career here if he continues to get better, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year. And then Keon, like you said, sky's the limit for him. He is just uber talented, crazy. He's good at everything. There's a lot of people who have specific things. It's like Christian can get downhill. Ian can shoot it. Matt is athletic. Tim is just solid. Keon's good at everything. He's not great at anything yet, besides for the fact that I really like his competitiveness. But there is not one part of his game where it's like, that's kind of the thing that we need to cover up so nobody sees. He can do everything well. He's got good instincts. He's kind of going through that freshman. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, welcome to college basketball. But I'm telling you, man, he's going to do some things, and he's going to impact some games this year that's going to be like, you remember that game that Keon did, fill in the blank? He can really go. And then Zeke Wilson, we're hoping that he's going to be eligible at semester. He was a homeschool kid for about 2 years, and that's just a kind of a whole thing in and of itself, and just the competition and stuff that he played against and different things. But he's a freak. He is all of 6'7". He's got a 7'1" wingspan. He's got some of the best.
Only 7'1"?
Only 7'1". Yeah,
Feels
I know.
like it's longer.
I know. If you go on our Instagram, you'll see a video of him going up and grabbing a $5 bill off of the backboard above the square. I mean, it's unreal. He's crazy athletic, but he has some of the best shot block timing that I've seen in a long time. I mean, we had a 7'4" guy on our team last year that some of you remember, in Connor Kern, that ended up transferring out. But Zeke affects and blocks more shots than Connor, and he's 6 inches shorter than Connor. He is one of the best shot blockers I've seen in a long time. He can dunk everything. You can definitely tell that he hasn't learned the game at this level yet, and so I think that he's just going to get better and better. But he chases the glass. He gets rebound. I mean, he just does all that dirty work. Also doesn't really care about scoring, but he gets stuff done, and it's really impressive. And I don't know what he'll necessarily do this year to impact games, but his career here could be really special if he puts the work in.
Well, you brought up a few names. You brought up Steve Stacko and Markel Hood. You have some older guys that I guess are in this technically. I know you say you don't want to go the JUCO route and stuff like that, but Markel Hood, originally from Blue Valley Northwest, won a couple state championships out that way, so you already know that guy is uber talented, especially if you're coming out of that program alone. You're going to have talent because that program is really good. And then Steve, you told me in the offseason, I'm telling you, you're going to love Steve Stacko. It's like I've only known you for a little over a year, and it's so funny how you already know like my type of player. It's funny how you know that because it's the thing. I love hard workers. Offensive rebounds are so crucial. I think they can swing games in your advantage, and especially when you have a guy that's constantly attacking the glass and knows angles. If you know angles and you can get in the right position, you can be a huge impact in a game. So a guy that rebounds, a guy that's constantly going after the glass, a guy that's constantly working hard, and that's my type of player. That sounds like Steve Stacko, guy from Bishop State Community College. So your thoughts on those older guys who are part of this program now?
Yeah, Steve, in my opinion, Steve's the X factor on our team. He just, man, he works so hard. And, like, when people see him this year, they're going to be like, he plays basketball. He looks like a football player. He looks like a starting
Terry Harrison, you might want to think about this
next don't
year.
Touch him, Terry. Don't talk to him. Don't have a conversation with him.
Don't look at him.
Don't even look at him. He looks like an NFL left end. I mean, he is a freak of he is strong-bodied, and he just plays so hard, and it's hard to find those guys that they don't care about how many I score, they don't care about they just play hard and they don't know anything else. And I think that we were missing that in certain ways last year, and when we saw Steve, I mean, he averaged a double-double at a junior college, so like that he's a hard worker and can rebound and all of those things, but he's the muscle on our team. I joke with him all the time because I'm telling you, when you see him, he looks like he's flexing all the time. He came in the gym the other day. I'm like, Steve, no one's threatening you, bro. Like, just why are you flexing? There's no one's here to hurt you. And he always smiles about it. He's such a humble, great dude, but he plays so hard. And he just continues to show things that I didn't know he could do. I mean, in our weekend that we had the Jamboree, I think he was our leading assist guy, and he plays the power forward position. He just finds ways to get guys the basketball. He gets us extra possessions. He makes tough layups. His one fatal flaw is he's got to get better at the free throw line. Doesn't shoot it well from there right now. I'm hoping we're going to get that figured out because he gets there a lot just because he creates so much contact, and he is something that we need if we want to be a championship level team. I'm really big into, I look at the guys in our league and I say, if we don't have somebody like him, we're not going to be good enough to win. And so last year we had Solomon Clayton from Bethany, and we had A.J. Range from Kansas Wesleyan. And I'm like, we don't have a dude to match up with either one of them. We have to find somebody. Steve Stacko is that guy for us. And I think he's going to continue to get better and better because his work ethic's there. And he's just going to learn the game more, but he's our muscle, man. He's the dude that I was a football player, like I said before.
Bodyguard
So it was one of those things where if anything ever popped off in practice or in a game in football, and I'm a quarterback, so I don't like being touched, I always knew who my lineman was, and it's like I need to get behind him to make sure. Steve is that guy where it's like when we walk into the gym, if anything pops off, it's okay, we're with Steve. And he's going to be really fun for people to watch because he just plays with this relentless pursuit of I'm not going to be stopped. I've watched him get 6 offensive rebounds in one possession. It means that we didn't make 6 shots in a row.
I know how that works because I could get 4 offensive rebounds myself. Real real easy.
But yeah,
missing.
six offensive rebounds in one possession. He's just that dude, and he's really fun to watch, and he's going to help us. Markel Hood is, man, that dude's talented. He is extremely talented, and when he gets it figured out mentally, he's going to be a dude to watch in this conference. I really believe that, and I mean it. He's got 3 years to play here, and I can't say enough about Markel. He's one of those special basketball talents. He's got great size. I mean, he looks like a Division I guard. I mean, Jalen Scott was a specimen. Like, when you saw Jalen Scott walk into a gym, you're like, that dude's playing here. Mm-hmm. And Markel kind of has that look. Like, when he walks into the gym, it's like, dang, that dude plays the wing. He just looks like a basketball player. He's very smooth. He doesn't have a lot of fatal flaws in his game. Like, he can just do everything well. Kind of similar to Keon, but right now just probably a little bit more polished and has played more basketball. But when he gets it figured out mentally, that dude is really going to help us be a championship level basketball team, and he's done it before too. That's the thing, and you mentioned it. Like, he's won multiple championships and knows what it looks like, and I'm really excited to see his development while we're here.
Am I forgetting anyone?
The only guy that probably
pretty much went down the entire roster.
I know, it's crazy. We're really deep this year, and it's fun because injuries happen, sicknesses happen.
Yeah.
You know, praying COVID doesn't happen again, but like, we are so deep this year that we have the ability to pretty much play about 13 to 14 dudes, and I wouldn't have anybody go out there and be like, we got to get him out as soon as possible because he's not ready. Like, we're more deep than I've ever had a basketball team, assistant level, JUCO level, D2, like any. But I've never had a team this deep before, which is exciting. It's hard getting guys to buy into, you don't have to be everything for this team because we are so deep. And so I'm really excited about it. The only guy that I would mention is Al Emerlehu.
Yeah.
He's
I
a
probably
guy.
intentionally did it because I didn't know the pronunciation right.
So his name is pronounced Adharam Emerlahu, and he is
Sunrise Christian Academy.
Sunrise Christian Academy, and he's a really good player. He can be a really good shooter. He's kind of our stretch four in our system. Hasn't shot it great yet, but has the ability to. He's done it everywhere that he's been in his career. But just similar to Steve, he just plays hard. He finds ways to make plays. He's really good at just about everything in the game. He's got good footwork. He's got good vision. He can put it on the deck. And he's got a lot of leadership qualities to him. And coming from Sunrise, like, it's really hard to get a guy from Sunrise that isn't a good leader because Luke does a really good job over there of just creating guys and producing guys that understand the game, that work hard, that know how to talk, that know how to be leaders and do things well. And so he's going to be in our rotation as well, and I'm really excited to see what he can do this year.
Awesome. Loaded question. In order for Friends to be successful this season, what has to happen?
Oh, my goodness, that is loaded. I guess it depends on what you consider
Coach McBeth
success.
is thinking, like, all right, what do I have? I got like 8 things that we got to achieve before, we could do this.
It depends on what you mean by success.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, especially in this conference where it is going to be loaded. We've talked about that already with what happened last season. If you thought that 4 postseason tournament teams was great, there's a legit chance it could be 5 or 6 this year.
Correct.
That's how deep this conference is this season.
Yeah, and I told our guys, and I'm transparent, and I tell guys exactly what I think, and I don't lie to them, and I don't say, hey, you're really good when you're not, and I don't say, this team's really good, so be afraid of them if they're not very good. Like, I keep things honest because I want guys to be able to trust the things that I say. I believe we have the ability to make it to the NAI National Tournament this year, whatever that looks like, however it is that we get there. I think that that's the capacity that this team has. For us to reach that level of success, the one thing that I believe we have to do is we have to change our daily habits. We have really good days of practice, then we have awful days of practice. We have dudes who are really committed to the process and then show up and just don't feel like competing. We will do a really good job on a scouting report and then not take it seriously and do things right. And it's teaching these guys that we are just a product of the things that we do on a daily basis. So it's got nothing to do with what we shoot from the three-point line. It's got nothing to do with whether we keep guys below a certain number. It's going to come down to, are our daily habits consistent and with excellence? And I think if we can do that, I think that we have a chance to be really successful this year.
I'm surprised you're not decked out in a suit and tie right now.
Not yet. You'll see it on Halloween.
I had to make that joke to Tree Burks because That's the one thing I'm used to, man. When you're part of this conference, you just know like who like dresses up.
Yeah.
And to see Tree not dressed up, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, Tree, like, come on, coach. And of course, he's like, I'll just leave it up to you. And then you're like, well, maybe not pulling out the suit on the road. We'll just have to wait and see.
We'll see. I go back and forth with that all the time. I'm really big into being professional and to respecting the game. And like, I love Buzz Williams because he still wears a suit down at Texas A&M. I will never not wear a suit to home games. It is difficult with travel, and my graduate assistant's got to coach
quarter
a JV
zips,
game.
right? Quarter zips are they're the wave. They're the movement.
They have become the new thing.
Just look at the Big 12 men's basketball media day.
It's
like every
wild.
single coach is in a quarter zip.
Absolutely, but no, you will see the suits at home this year. I got some new things for the people to see, and the red blazer will be out for the first game on Monday.
Okay, can't wait, Coach. Thank you so much for your time, and best luck to you this season.
Appreciate you, Pat.
Austin McBeth, head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends University Coaches Show. You can come on out and watch them on Halloween, October 31st. It's Friends and Barclay College. Tip-off for the men's game at 8 o'clock. The women tip off their season at 6 o'clock. And then a couple weeks later, technically, it's conference play, as Friends will open up conference play, taking on the Bethel College Threshers on November 16th, 6 and 8 o'clock for those tip-off times for the doubleheader as well. Well, that does it for us here today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you around inside the Garvey Center. Talons up.